All right, cool. So right now we're going to be printing constants and variables. So in the previous video, we came to learn how to name constants and variables. So right now we're going to be printing them. So what we learned so far about this, let me write it down here. So what we learned about is that you can print the current value of a constant variable with the print. Now we know what the print function does. I think that's what we've been using all along. So I'll just write it down here. It's written print friendly welcome. Okay, so we don't have this variable in existence anywhere. So let's create a new variable called 10. Yeah, I think that's something like 80. Ah, kanzon sulela. Ay, no, kita itsula also. Ah, kita lo sama. Okay, cool. So the print separator terminator function is a global function that prints one or more values to an appropriate output in Xcode. So now the question is, what is the separator and the terminator? So let's see an example. Okay, cool. Let's start by creating the variable first. So we're just gonna say var friendly welcome is equal to bonjour. Cool. So we're gonna print this friendly welcome. Cool. So we have bonjour that we just printed out. So now we want to understand what the separator and the terminator is. So we learned that the print function is a global function that prints one or more values to an appropriate output. Okay, I don't know what that appropriate output means. In Xcode, for example, the print function prints its output in Xcode's console pane. The separator and terminator parameter have default values. Okay, so you can omit them when you call this function. Separator and terminator. By default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line. So can we create an empty print? I doubt this can be the case. It shouldn't work because it obviously expects. I guess it works anyway. So then the print function can work even though it does not have any parameter in it. So which makes sense that the parameters are optional. You can omit them. So you can omit them when you call this function. So by default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. Okay. By default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. So what will happen if we add a line break, which is obviously a new. Okay, then. Okay, oh, I wonder if it's gonna work. Yeah, but I don't think it recognizes this. Okay, let's do this and check something then. We just added a line break. Right there. Let's see what's gonna happen. Cool, so we can see the line break, it's here. We have a line break obviously, and then we added another line break, and then according to this that we came to learn here is that by default the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. So that's by default. So does it mean that we can change it? So to print a value without a line break after it, pass an empty string. To print a value without a line break after it, pass an empty string as the terminator. Okay, let's see. So that means we can do this. We can say print friendly welcome. Okay, cool. We don't need you now. Let's start again. Print friendly welcome. Now I see there's a terminator here, but do I need to specify that there's a terminator? And then it takes a string, and obviously the string will be empty, just like that. So then what is the purpose of a terminator? Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, we have bonjour, but then there's no terminator. What happens if I put a T here? Yo. Yeah, kita hier. By default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. So there's something that is called a terminator. To print a value without a line break. Alright, cool. To print a value without a line break after it, pass an empty string as the terminator. For example, print some value terminator. Obviously, we have to specify the terminator. But then will it know if I just, but then it shouldn't know. And we get why it wouldn't know. Because obviously, a terminator here is a variable. Because we've seen when we create a function, we're able to create a function which takes values inside of it. Let's say our function takes, what's the name of function is called standard bank. Standard bank, and let's say it takes two values. Values can take name, which is a string, setting, which is a string. That's what we have here. And then obviously it just prints name, and also just prints setting. So now when we call our function, Yebo. I'm calling functions, don't worry. Nah, sorry for that. Cool. So we can see here when we call the function, we're gonna have something like this. So do I have to specify that this is the name? Which wouldn't be. So now what is this thing here? What does this mean? Now that's quite interesting because I do know I can have something like Shiko Matlala, and that's fine. Oh, sorry. Standard bank. I didn't write the name properly. Hmm. So it appears that according to Swift, when you create a function and you want to place in the parameters, you need to specify the name. And I think where it gets interesting is that we can play around with with the location of these names. For example, I can move this here if I want to, and it's not really complaining. Okay, let's see. Does it want it to be the same? Argument must precede. Okay, so that doesn't allow it. So then the question is, why does it do this? Why does it? Why is it so strict about how we give the names here? Okay, cool. We can see Shigo Matlara is here. It's fine. Okay, so we can see it doesn't matter the order. Oh no, the order matters because that's how we made it be. And so what we're seeing here is that obviously we have the name and then the surname, but then why do they have to make it this complicated? Standard bank, we can't just say Shiko Clara. It appears that we cannot do that. Now, the question is why? Missing argument labels. So that means our arguments must be preceded by labels. Our arguments must be preceded by labels. Now, why is this the case? So that means for every function that we use, we just need to specify the name. But then the question is, what about the print function? With the print function, I don't even specify the name of what I'm printing. According to this that we see here, obviously we have a separator and then we have a terminator, and I don't know what the terminator does. But then how come with the print functions we do not have to specify what is this? The name. I just print whatever that I want to print. How come it does not need labels? I don't have to say something like message and then say the message is what is this that we friend to welcome? We don't have to do that. But then with the functions that we created, how come we have to do that? Okay, I think that's a very interesting thing that we can try to find out as we do this. So let's see. By default, we came to learn this. By default, the function terminates the line it prints by adding a line break. To print a value without a line break after it, pass an empty string as the terminator. For example, print some value or terminator. Okay, so it appears that some value does not need to be preceded by a label. What is the variable label? But then how come for terminator we need to do that? For information about parameters with default values, see default values parameters. Let's check this out, man. Swift uses string interpolation to include the name of a constant or variables as a placeholder in a longer string. Okay. And to prompt Swift to replace it with the current value of that constant or variable. Wrap the name in parentheses and escape it with a backslash before the opening parenthesis. Okay, this one makes sense. This is string interpolation. We know what string interpolation means. String interpolation is pretty much adding strings together. I think that's what it means in a way. Yeah, that's pretty much what it means because obviously if we were okay, I won't come back there. Obviously what we want to do is something like this, but that's not string interpolation, that's concatenation of strings. So there's a difference between interpolation and concatenation. String concatenation. In formal language theory and computer programming, string concatenation is the operation of joining character strings end to end. So yeah, concatenation is joining. Let me write it down here. Concatenation is the joining of two strings together, whereas string interpolation in computer programming, string interpolation is a process of evaluating a string literal containing one or more placeholder, yielding a result in which the placeholders are replaced with the corresponding values. Okay, I guess I get what it means, but to explain it is a different story. So let's see. String interpolation is a process in which the placeholder characters are replaced with the variables. Okay, this makes sense. I'm just going to copy this idea here. String interpolation. I don't know why they call it interpolation. Ooh, let's do this. Cool, that's string interpolation for us. Let's see what's next. Okay, so I think we're learning about the two concepts here. Swift uses string interpolation. How do you pronounce interpolation, by the way? Interpolation.
Interpolation.
Fancy. Well, it appears that this comes from, obviously, it will make sense if it comes from discrete mathematics. In the mathematical field of, okay, I'm not going to get into that. Cool, so we understand how string interpolation works. So that means, oh, I closed the wrong thing, and oh, we still have it here, it's fine. So we're going to print the name of the dude. Okay, let's do it here instead. I'm just going to print the name is, and then obviously I'm just going to have to and the surname is I've noticed that in other programming languages we're able to do string interpolation using curly braces, or sometimes one may make use of backticks, and if they make use of backticks then they can put curly braces inside the backticks and say surname, and then obviously go with the name of the person. But it appears that this, what is this, backticks are not the same thing here as we may be able to see, but I'm not gonna go there because I don't wanna drift. Okay, it doesn't work. I guess that's its own way of doing string interpolation. That is replacing the values, having a placeholder so that the values gets replaced when the placeholder is populated. So let's see. We did this. Options. Note, all options can use the string interpolation described in all options. Okay, seems like there's a lot. And then we're gonna move on to comments, and we're gonna make a separate video for comments. But so far, I wanted to understand this value here. I mean, this problem of default parameter values. What are these default parameter values? You can define a default value for any parameter in a function by passing a value to the parameter. After that parameter, okay, I get what it means now. Okay, it makes sense. So, for example, if we can see with our print, in other words, our print function looks something along these lines. We have obviously the string, let me say this. What is it called here? There's a value that is used here. Some value, I'll use some value. The sum value, which is obviously a string. And then there's a separator, which is a string, and its default value is this. That's pretty much what is going on here. So then when I use the same thing, okay, let's see if I did it the right way. Yeah, I did it the right way. For example, let's set our default values here as nils. Now, which means empty. Now, meaning it's empty. So then that means if I call this thing here, standard bank, ooh, and then I don't put any variables inside. I mean, I don't put any values here. That means I should just get two nulls. Cool. So we can see the name is null and the surname is null. So now, but then what happens? The thing that surprised me the most is how come print doesn't need me to put a label? Where did I write that down? How come print doesn't need me to put a label to my argument? That's one thing that really surprises me. So far we understand about default values, how and what default values are. We know how to create default values to this thing, but I'm still not happy that I'm not getting this. Some function parameter with this. Okay, makes sense. If we do not provide the parameter, it will use the default parameter. But then if we did not specify the default parameter, then it means it will. Okay, cool. There we go. If you don't want an argument label, for parameter, write an underscore. Cool. So now we see how this works now. Let me write it down here. So remember how we're talking about this. Where is it written? Argument must be preceded by labels. But then there's an option, because the question that I had was how come print doesn't take, what is this, an argument label? And there's an answer to this. So there's something that is called omitting argument labels. And I'll just put it here. So it means our functions. Oh, we were gonna get into it when we got to functions, but it's fine that we got into it now. So this is what we learn about it. I'll just write it down here anyway. If you don't want an argument label for a parameter, write an underscore. Instead of an explicit argument label for that parameter. So now how do we go about doing this? Okay, cool. Let's create a brand new function. We're gonna call this function func. Let's call it that for now. So how do we go about this? So now we want to make sure that we can have this function, but then when we enter our arguments into this function, it shouldn't require us to enter argument labels. So it seems that to do this, we just put an underscore followed by a space. The space here doesn't matter, I guess. It can be 10, it can be 5, it doesn't matter. We just need that, and then we just need to put another space again, because if I do this, then it becomes the argument name, or let's say name. It becomes the argument name. So now it's fine. It's no longer an argument name. So what kind of a value does this take? It takes a string. And then let's say message also takes a string. Then we can then say print, obviously. Let's say, okay, let me just begin by doing this first. Is, okay, cool, I need to do this first. Cool. So now when we use this function, then we can say, call the function. Now, we don't have to specify everything. Cool. So now let's check what's gonna happen now. Ooh. Oh, sorry, I misspelled message here. Okay, cool. So we were able to print out something here. That's what we're able to print out. Now that works fine. Okay, I guess I didn't really need the space. Let me put a new line here. Nice. So our function works and we didn't have to put any labels to it. So I like how it works here. At least we can see there's a solution to this. But then why would somebody need to put labels for arguments? Now I don't get that. Probably there must have been a reason why that needed to happen, omitting labels. So if a parameter has an argument label, the label must be labeled when you call the function, because I mean it will make sense. What is the label of our print function? What is the label of this thing here? I don't know. So it'll make sense how sometimes you may want to omit labels. Cool. So I think we're just gonna end the video here for now. It's getting too long. So yeah, that's the story of printing constants and variables. Yeah, now we're gonna move on to obviously the second part, which is comments. Nice.